employable. They are able to command higher salaries. They are able to get the projects they want to get made. And it's...
But why do you think it is that since 1985 there has been generally only one or two women on that list? And there wasn't before that.
Boy, how many hours do we have?
Well, I have a lot of questions to ask you, so
but
the short answer.
I mean, the short answer is the industry has changed really dramatically since 1980. There are, we have now videos, video games, the internet, downloading music. We have a multi-channel universe on TV and cable. We have there's so much competing for the moviegoer attention span, or everyone's just trying to get someone to buy a piece of music, or go buy a movie ticket, or buy a movie on demand on cable. That in order to get the attention of the potential moviegoer, the industry has reconsolidated, and no longer are movie studios owned by their founders. Movie studios are parts of multimedia corporations, part of Sony or GE, which are consumer electronics company. They're part of media companies like Rupert Murdoch's Fox, like AOL's Time Warner.
And there's a masculinist bias?
Well, no, it's more complicated than that. They're a little division in a great conglomerate. And now movies, you don't open, because movies are more expensive, you need to market them. And movies don't open like in just 2 cities and then open slowly. They're so expensive, you need to get your money back in that same year. You can't amortize them the same way. So even a movie that just costs $10 million will probably have a marketing budget, that's $30 million, because they're buying TV ads, not newspaper ads, much to the chagrin of my publishers. And it's very, very costly. And they find that the things they can attract a great number of people to are what they call tentpole pictures, or big event pictures, like Lord of the Rings, or Braveheart, or movies that attract children or young adults. And young adults 18 to 24 have the greatest disposable income, because they're not married, conceivably they don't have kids, and they're going out more. So those are the 2 kinds of movies that are being made. And also they're making a lot of money from Europe and the Middle East and Asia. And male stars sell better overseas than female stars.
Okay, that's interesting.
There's all these components. There's all these things.
It's a book, isn't it?
There's it's many books, and they're all converging. So I don't think there's an anti-woman bias.
It's not
at the
a conspiracy. In other words.
I don't think so. Although I've certainly heard producers say to me that women don't make good movie directors because their brain chemistry is different. This is like the Larry Summers argument. The president of Harvard said a similar thing about
women in
science and cognition. And indeed, a lot of this is based in fact. Neurologists are saying men and women are hardwired differently, but different doesn't mean not good.
Right.
But the men are in charge. And
you'd think by now, of course, that things would have changed at the upper levels.
Well, Paramount had a woman chief of production for many years named Sherry Lansing.
She recently retired?
She recently retired. Amy Pascal is at Columbia, and she's great, and she's been there many years, and she's making Spider-Man, and she's making Spanglish. She's making...
They're movie makers. They're money makers.
She loves story-driven movies, and she loves tentpole movies. I think she's a real great example of a studio executive who knows how to make money and make movies that both men and women, black and white, young and old, will come to.
Okay.
And I think she's really exemplary.
What's her name again?
Amy Pascal.
I'll keep that
Columbia
in mind.
Pictures.
I want to ask you about the whole reviewing process, which I think is fascinating. The first thing I wanted to ask you is whether you do you ever see a movie more than once before you review it?
I do. It's less and less possible because a statistic, in 1986 when I started at the Enquirer, 172 movies were released that year. In 2004, 498 opened up in Philadelphia. So there's about 3 times as many movies opening up, and there's essentially a lot less time. And I used to see 100% of what was released. Now I'm seeing 80 to 85% of what's released. I know movies that I saw more than once before I reviewed them: Platoon, Wings of Desire, Sideways.
Were these movies because, did you see them more than once because you didn't quite have a handle on what you thought?
Platoon, there was so much information the first time I needed to see it a second time to sort out my feelings. I can name you 20 movies that way. I would have liked to have seen Passion of the Christ twice. That was...
You just didn't have the time.
Studio said no.
Oh,
there was one screening.
Oh,
that was
because
it.
you were previewing.
Yeah. I certainly asked, and they laughed at me. But there's a lot of things that most moviegoers are just seeing the movie once. But maybe that's not true, because people buy DVDs and they're seeing things over and over and over again.
This seems more common now. I mean, I look at my daughter who sees movies over and over again, which I never did, both because of DVDs, but she'll go to the movies more than once.
Right, and I think videos and DVDs created the repeat customer.
Yeah.
And I know that my nieces and nephews in the 80s could, deconstruct movies and tell me dialogue and what happened and what was, do frame composition and analysis, because they were watching it on video and watching it over and over. And it stunned me, after years of kind of having to rely on my memory. You could just, there's actually something you could refer to.
Right. Well, something that, astounds me about you review so much. I mean, you review so many movies, and it would seem to me the pressure must be great to get it right. And I wonder if, I'm remembering way back when Bosley Crowther was the movie critic at the New York Times, and this famous case where Bonnie and Clyde opened, and he panned it, and there was an uproar. He went back, he saw it again, and he re-reviewed it and amended his view. And I can think of no other case like that, but I wonder if, have there been cases where reviewers, have you ever gone back and with a second thought on
Absolutely,
a movie?
and I know Roger Ebert does.
Okay.
And I know I have. And
what movie, for example?
Well, there's a movie I gave, and this is not the most egregious case, but I just remember I saw French Kiss in a movie theater.
Okay.
I thought it was okay. I gave it 2.5 stars, but it was on cable, and I watched it a lot. And I thought, God, this is beautifully structured. Gosh, it's nicely written. Gee, Kevin Kline's fabulous. He's really funny.
Yeah, I remember that movie. I like that.
And I thought, okay, is it something that's better, smaller, because it's or was I tired the night I saw it? But it's funny, I saw it with my husband the first time in a theater, and we thought, was I tired the night I saw it? But it's funny, I saw it with my husband the first time in a theater, and we thought it was okay. We both liked it better the more we saw it. Now, I loved Groundhog Day the first time I saw it, and I still love it. And I think that's one of these movies that you can watch a million times because it just gets funnier and funnier. But my husband hated it, and now it's his favorite movie.
Really?
Because he
now, how many stars did you give that when you reviewed it?
I didn't review it. I would have given it 4.
Well,
I would have given it 4.
That's interesting, this star business.
Well, that's not my choice. That is it is imposed on us.
Really? Okay. Well, I wanted to ask you about The Merchant of Venice, which you recently reviewed, and you gave 3.5 stars, and I was wondering about that half star. Did you think about it, or did you waffle?
There were some performances I didn't think were up to Pacino's.
Okay.
And that wonderful woman who played Portia, whose name I don't
recall. Yeah.
But who's fabulous Texas-born actress who was amazing. Some of the performances were sloppy, and but I thought it was that would take it down half a peg for me.
Okay. Yeah.
But
I just was curious
stars,
about that.
Forgive us, Paula. This is our.
It's very helpful, I have to say. I mean, I know as limiting as
some readers say that, and
helpful.
all the movie theater owners say, "Can't you just write the review and not give the stars?"
Because it's a shorthand, and sometimes we need that.
That's right.
Do you ever feel like walking out of a movie, and do you ever walk out of a movie?
I walked out of Battlefield Earth because my colleague Stephen Ray was reviewing it, I just thought life was too short. I'd like to put my child to bed. This is not going to get any better.
Okay. How do you and Stephen Ray, do you divvy these movies up? You sit down and you sort of make a list, so you choose what you would like? And
It's a very complicated but easygoing. It's like three-dimensional Scrabble or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's collegial, in other words.
Yeah. You got the last Scorsese movie, I'll get this one. You got the last really awful movie, I'll take this one. I have a little one, so I don't mind going to kid movies. Stephen's daughter is much older now, and he likes taking her to movies, so there's certain things he'd like to see with her. And it's very easy.
Okay, I noticed that The Incredibles was one of your favorite movies, which was one of mine too.
Oh, it's a great movie.
And of
it's
course,
everyone's
kids
favorite
loved
movie,
it, and we loved it, and And then you also put Lost in Translation up there as one of your favorites. Two very different movies, but yet obviously you have a great range of taste. Would you say?
Doesn't everyone?
No. Not everybody I know, but
well, maybe
I guess as a reviewer
taste,
you need to.
Maybe taste in movies is like taste in food. I basically like all foods, and I basically like all kinds of movies.
Okay.
And
you're a Clint Eastwood fan. Is that correct? If I say put it
yeah.
that way?
Well, I like to put it this way. I built the Clint Eastwood bandwagon in the early '70s after I saw his second movie as a director, which was called Breezy. It's a very small throwaway movie with, I think, William Holden and Kay Lance. It was one of the first movies I ever reviewed. But it really got the generation gap. It's about a hippie chick who gets hitchhiking, gets picked up by a middle-aged guy. And it's really about them talking about their very different values, but they're also attracted to each other sexually and as people. And it's not a very good movie, but it was made with such incredible heart and kind of, and I just remember sitting through it and thinking, the Man with No Name made this. Dirty Harry made this.
Oh,
and and it just clicked that this is a guy who maybe was being put in a box and was more interesting than that box. So I've always been very attentive to his movies. And that was Breezy's 73 or something. So
yeah, because I loved your review of $1 Million Baby.
Well, I don't think I reviewed.
You wrote the piece on
did a
Clint
long
Eastwood.
I did a long
You
piece
said he's not a reactionary, he's not a relativist, he's a revisionist. That was a wonderful line.
I think before politicians were taking the third way, Clint Eastwood was. I think he's just a natural libertarian, and he's not in either camp. He's always going to go a third way, and his characters are interesting because they're always caught. Dirty Harry's caught between the brass in the roundhouse and the people on the street who are trying to shoot him. He's always. It's a great movie protagonist thing because he's always trying to negotiate through really complicated landscapes. And
that's a nice way of putting it.
As $1 Million Baby, and I kind of admire him. He's not telling both sides what they want to hear. He's trying to find a path that's his own path, and I appreciate that.
I guess I'm going to have to wrap up, but I'm going to ask you. I'm going to end with a Barbara Walters question, if you don't mind. Which is, if there could be one movie character you could be, who would it be? I should have told you this in advance.
Frances McDormand and Laurel Canyon, without all the sex. I'm happily married, but she is a character who just knows what she wants. And that was a wonderful characterization. She's a great actress, too, She
I
is.
think. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Carrie Rickey.
Thank you.
I could go on asking you questions, I think, for another hour. But
Thank
thanks
you,
for
Paula.
being here. And thank you for joining us for the Drexel interview.